So I have one idea that helps scratch that creative itch and also helps you behave and exhibit entrepreneurial behaviors and tendencies within your job, your corporate job. And the reason I can speak to this is because, as many of you know, I started a business and it took 6 to 7 years of my life. We hit a $10 million valuation. We scaled and failed. We did a lot of cool stuff. We did a lot of stupid stuff. Um, but I don't necessarily think it was an overall failure because I met my wife through that experience, who's definitely my North Star. We have a beautiful son now. I also have a job at a Fortune 200 company, so a very large publicly listed company in commercial real estate. And I lead a team there. I grew it from 2 people 5 years ago to over 40. And I think we're going to continue growing. And if I'm going to be honest, if I had to grow that team and work that job by following the rules and following the path already traveled, I don't think I would have survived. And that's not because I can't work for someone else. I never started the business because I felt like I couldn't work for someone. It's just that I feel like moving quick sometimes, doing quirky shit, and process, even though it's very useful, especially working in large businesses, I think is the is a easy way to kill any good idea. So this is one way that I've managed to behave entrepreneurially within that very large business over the last 5 years. And one thing that I'm really leaning into now that I want to share in case you can do it too for yourself, because I think everyone could be leaning into this, is it's industry agnostic, right? And you may not be in my position where you can do some of these things. So I've got some ideas on how you can do it in other areas as well. But for me, it's funnily enough, it's shooting video podcasts. Okay. And I know a bunch of you are like, oh God, not more of this podcast crap. There's a lot floating around. Let me rephrase, it's not so that you can build your own Joe Rogan podcast and take over the world and that's how you're going to make money. It's more industry specific to your day job, right? How do you leverage that less to generate enough of a viewership to generate ad revenue and do all that kind of stuff? It's more around how can I leverage that to build my personal brand within that industry that will help me with my day job, will help me build trust within that community of people that you have to work with, both internally and externally, and help you kick ass in that field, and then work becomes a bit more interesting, right? Because you get to speak to guests, you get to bring on potential clients or existing clients and have a candid conversation with them. So it's probably worth trying to upskill on how you can sit down for 20, 30 minutes at least and really have an authentic discussion. I think that's a really subtle and undervalued skill. And it'll help you build your relationship with them anyway, but you'll learn a lot. And I think it's a kick-ass thing to do because in order to actually facilitate and do it, you don't need to get budget from work. I mean, you can, and I'll tell you a little story about that shortly. But just go get a camera, watch some YouTube videos on how to shoot proper content with a camera, get some audio gear, like some mics or whatever. There's a lot of artificial intelligence tools out there that help you tweak sound afterwards. Like, for example, this sound, I'm just using the camera in front of me, not the mic, as an experiment, because I'm going to tweak it using Adobe AI. So when you listen to it, let me know how it sounds. I'll also review it too, but it should sound pretty crisp. That being said, I'm shooting in my garage and there's cockatoos screeching outside behind me. So you might hear them every now and then. And because this garage is pretty close to the street, you might hear a car zooming by. But maybe the Adobe stuff takes it out. But I digress. I think that'll help you scratch your creative itch. And I'm doing it because, again, it's allowing me to speak to clients. I feel like I'm building my brand within the industry stronger by doing it. And I don't know how, but I'm going to leverage that somehow, in the future. Whether I change companies or whatnot within commercial real estate, it's always very healthy and attractive to build that personal brand long term. But even having to figure out how to get started and do it, I had to behave like almost like a startup, ask for forgiveness and not permission. So you probably, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I've been shooting content for about a year now, including this YouTube stuff. That was how I learned how to do a lot of these things. And then instead of going and asking for permission to shoot a podcast, I just did one, right? And the way that I did this was not necessarily try and launch one on my own and try and just ask people as a favor to be a guest on it. There was a third-party platform out there that already had a viewership base that needed a host within Australia. And I was like, I'll do it. right? Let's figure this out together. You've got the audience. I've been fine tuning my craft on being able to storytell and do this kind of stuff. Let's do it together. And the funny thing is that, doing that, and part of the reason I'm shooting this video is I'd like to post some of those podcast examples, video podcast examples on this channel, even though it's not necessarily, well, it's not startup content. It's to do with the future of work, so you might find it really interesting. So you can see the stuff I'm producing, and you can give me feedback on it. But I'm going to leverage that to do more. Because if I went and asked for permission, I probably would have got a fat no. I probably would have been hit with a bunch of brand guidelines, or do it this way, or go through marketing, but they're too busy to deal with someone like me right now. They're in charge of a lot of stuff. So if you bring something of value to them rather than a request, you're going to be taken a bit more seriously. You might get a slap on the wrist, but it's totally worth it. So I think that's a big one, and it's industry agnostic, because I feel like authenticity is emerging as more and more important, especially in a very artificially intelligence driven world, and it will become more so, more and more as that technology develops. So, grow your personal brand, be personable, try and develop that sense of authenticity. And you don't have to be in commercial real estate or a big industry, like I was saying earlier. I got friends who are hairdressers. Film some of your consultations if they're fun. Well, not even fun. They don't have to be fun. They're probably more fun than you think. And then shoot you cutting their hair. Or if you're a chef or a cook, make some meals at home. Do some food testing. Experimentation, and record it and share it, or whatever. I think. And if you're watching this and you're like, I'm not you, I don't like being in front of the camera, I don't like doing this, get someone who does like that stuff and work with you. The example I shared where I became the host, the dude who got me to do the video podcast series, which I'll share, he's behaving entrepreneurially himself by finding some schmuck like me who loves doing this stuff to do it, because he doesn't necessarily want to do it in that region, right? So he's offshored that headache, and we're both benefiting, right? So yeah, I think, coming back to my point, there's obviously a ton of ways that you can exhibit entrepreneurial behaviors in a corporate environment. But I always find, if you find the project to do, all your entrepreneurial traits will suddenly emerge, right? You can't just say, oh, behave like this, this, and this. It's like, that sounds cool, but how do you actually do it within an office environment? Well, you can't most of the time, frankly. But if you've got a project, in my case, it's shooting video podcast series, honestly, finding the location, finding the guests, getting on marketing on board with your company, getting the brand guidelines sorted, pushing it out on LinkedIn, you're almost treating it like a branding exercise for a new business. And that business is you right now. It's your personal brand. So good luck. You got this, and I'll speak to you again soon. This fucking cockatoo will not shut up. I hope this is going to be taken out by AI.